Thank you very much. Before I get started, no, I actually had two zoology professors, and they both were friends. You remember Dr. Hester used to be here. They were friends of his brother, Eugene Hester, who was Associate Director of U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. They were all photographers, and I kind of got, into that, and it just fascinated me, and I longed for the time I'd be able to afford a lens about that long. I still can't afford it, but I've got two of them. So, it's really, wildlife photography particularly is just tremendous. People say, well, how do you have the patience to sit there and wait for that picture? Well, I wasn't waiting for that picture. I was just sitting there, and things were happening around me. And I took a picture of it. And it was probably not what I had intended when I got there. But it doesn't really take patience so much because there is so much going on. But I semi-retired or began to semi-work, whichever way you want to look at it, 10 years ago this June. And I told my wife, I said, I've been squirreling away a little money, and I'm going to buy me a 500 millimeter lens and a nice camera, and I did. And I still got it, and it just opened doors for me. And then I got involved in the Goldsboro Area Photography Club, which is really tremendous, and also the Carolina Nature Photographers Association, which is an organization of North and South Carolina photographers, nature photographers. GAPC is nature photographers and just anything you want to take a picture of, anything you want to do. And you got somebody to talk to, somebody to ask questions of with both organizations. And Facebook, as you know, it's really a storehouse of knowledge and source of information, and we all exchange information there, and particularly with the CNPA, because I got friends in Charleston that I have seen one time. He's a neurosurgeon. I've seen him one time in 10 years, but we're friends, even though it's on Facebook, and I get a lot out of his work. So it's really, Facebook can, if you, as you know, be careful what you do and what you say. And I do a lot of posting of my pictures on Facebook, and I really enjoy it. Okay, hold on just a minute. Let me see if I can wake this up. Oh, wait a minute, I forgot two things. Two people I want to introduce. My daughter Shannon, who is my travel buddy. Stand up just a minute, Shannon. And, she takes me to all these places. And she's been a tremendous buddy, a tremendous friend, and tremendous daughter. And we've been to a lot. I don't know how many of the national parks, I have no idea. There's not many of the large ones left, if there's any, that we haven't been to. And another one I just was out in Yellowstone with, John Walston. Stand up, John. There may be some. Jane just couldn't wait to see when you gonna take him again. But we had fun. Anyway, and it worked out pretty good. Okay, need to turn the lights down except for the perimeter lights.
I don't know if you need the lights. You got your mic there, I think that's the other one.
That's another mic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, is that everybody able to see that good? I think that it works better with the lights out in here, and you can really see better. We got there in Bozeman, and we got into the park on Monday morning, and the snow was low, as they would say. It's not very, it wasn't over 3 or 4 feet high. No, it was maybe 2 feet, and it started snowing and snowed off and on the rest, but for 3 days anyway, the rest of the week. So we wound up with very good snow cover. it's really unusual out there, and I'll tell you a little bit more about, wait a minute, back up a minute. I'll tell you about this in a minute. They don't scrape the roads out. They don't clean the roads, let me put it that way. They dress them. And late in the afternoon, they have a machine that comes along and just levels the road when there's virtually no traffic. That night, it freezes. So next morning, you start every day with a smooth surface. You may be on 1 foot or 2 feet of snow, but and you got special vehicles that you're on, so you don't need the asphalt. Well, guess what happened here? Got things off to a good start there, and I had intended to go back to the bank back here, and someone was going to take my picture. Well, I stepped off the street. I didn't even know it because the snow was right here. My heel hit the asphalt. My toes were suspended, so I went down. And without someone prizing me up, I had no way to get up. I just was in a predicament. My feet were virtually pinned down, and somebody just had to pull me up. But anyway, at least I was a good sport about it. So, okay. This is Steamboat Geyser, and we saw this by accident, totally by accident. I think it goes off 32 times per year. It's the largest geyser in the world, and at times a major eruption will be 300 feet high. This was not a major eruption. But what happened was we pulled up into this parking lot at this area, and everybody got off, and he said, we're going to go down here, we're going to go down to the right, and I said, well, hold on just a minute. There's a bathroom right over there. And I'm 75 years old, and I really need to go over there. And he said, okay, just follow us. He told me where we were going. I said, well, maybe I might. But anyway, I went, got back, and I was sitting in the passenger seat of the bus, or whatever you call the vehicle. And all of a sudden, the driver comes running up and says, steamboat's blowing, steamboat's blowing. And I'm like, nobody even talked about steamboat. I'd never heard of steamboat, for one thing. And we hadn't discussed it. It wasn't a point of our visit or anything. But I could see it just really going off in the woods there. So he told me, he said, go down here instead of going right where the rest of them went. You go left. Be very careful. It's a treacherous path, and it was. He said, but just be careful. You'll see where you're going. So I did. And he took off running to catch them. And I got there, got the picture. And it turned out, they explained to me later that it was a rare sighting, that not many people get to see steamboat blow. So the Steamboat Geyser. And right here, see if I can get this thing to blow up. If you'll notice the gray, the output of the geyser is not clear water like a lot of them are. And it's mostly water. It's some steam, but mostly water. But it's, I guess, molten rock, and it's really gray, just like this looks. But it's kind of unusual. Okay, what you see a lot of this around the geysers and the hot springs. The geysers, both from the steam and the water, but most of it is the steam accumulating. And you see here, that's not, some of it's snow, but some of it is built up from the steam from the geysers or the hot springs. Okay, guess what this is? Good old faithful. It goes off roughly 59 minutes, anywhere from I think they say 60 to 120 minutes. And you have to get a picture of Old Faithful. All right, now this is one of my favorite geysers, other than Steamboat now. Me and Steamboat are right tight. This is Beehive. And right here is a little geyser. Can y'all see where I'm pointing here? There's a little guy right here. Now, Beehive is totally unpredictable. They have no idea where it's going to go off. But when this little guy goes off, they know that within 20 minutes, beehive is going off. So from that standpoint, it's predictable, but they don't know when it's going to happen. These people are not as close as they look. I took this with a telephoto lens, and it compressed everything. So they're by no means that close. They're safe. I have been over there, and you're safe from the geyser. And over here is a little pot, I guess you would say, from an old geyser or whatever. I just saw that this morning, and I was going over it. But that's an interesting thing there. And in this area, there are other hot springs and geysers. But once you've seen a geyser, you've seen them all. This is just something I threw in here. My wife could tell me what this is, but I don't realize. Is there a needle Christmas tree or something like that? And that's what that is. Well, what it looks like. I just couldn't resist taking a picture of it and including it in here. Actually, there's a tree over to the right too. There's 3 trees there that are pretty much the same. All right, this is the lower Yellowstone Falls. This is the beginning of the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone. It begins at Lower Falls. And this is totally frozen across the top and down the side, just water coming out here. That falls is 308 feet. It could be 310 with the ice. This is 100 feet high right here. This is ice, pure ice. You can see down here it's apparently cracking about to do something, but it's 100 feet of ice there. Okay. Now this is the same fall in the early summer. I don't know why it keeps doing that. There's an overlook here, as you saw on the other one, and the ice and snow on the sides. This is upper Yellowstone Falls. There's also right here an observation point here. And it's really funny because when I took this one, I didn't know that I was at pretty much the same point and all for taking this one. So you see how much water is coming over there, and on the lower falls, you've got the same deal. This is the spring thaw, and you're getting a lot of water over those falls. I mean, a lot. This guy had been, or gal, I think that's a gal, had been sitting there, or laying there, and it snowed on one side of her face, and not the other. I don't know if that's patience, laziness, or what it is, but I just thought it was neat. You know, you see the ice and snow build up on them. Their insulation is so dense and so good that it doesn't melt on them. The only way it gets off is them shake it off or whatever, but it doesn't melt. They are pretty safe down to 35 degrees below zero. At 35, they start to stress, they say. And, but down to that point, they're pretty comfortable. Yeah, close view. He's doing a lip curl, which is normally a breeding thing. I'm not sure if he was looking at me or not, but anyway, I just thought that was an interesting. You know, there's more people injured by bison than anything else in the park. Now, I don't know if it includes cars or not, probably not, but they appear to be docile, lethargic, bored animals. Well, they're not. They can run 35 miles an hour, and here is actually 3 bison. They were back on this side of the road over here. They decided they want to be over here, and they took off running. I mean, and they can move at 35 miles an hour, and they're quick. They're not what they appear to be at all. When you're riding a snowmobile or when you are horseback riding in the park, they tell you, for horseback riding particularly, be nose to tail. Don't let the horse in front of you get ahead of you. If he does, and a bison sees that and sees an opening, they may try to go through it. And it's the same thing with snowmobiles. Stay fairly tightly packed. Of course, with snowmobiles, you can't get right on top of each other in case somebody stops. But they say if they see a break in the line, then they try to run through it, just like these. Now, these actually ran through not through some cars, but through a line of cars that was sitting beside the road over here. There was vehicles up there, and so they went through them. And so that's just, again, another. But you can see that the little calf there is getting it done now. I mean, they were moving surprisingly fast. John, you saw them, didn't you? And they fast enough for you? And
I got out of the way.
You got out of the way, yeah. Now, what's happening here is the bison are feeding in a thermal feature. Now, this a thermal feature can be anything from a geyser to a spring, or in this case, it's nothing but bare ground. It's a warm area, and it keeps the snow and ice from thawed so they can feed. The value of the feed they're getting is not very much, though. I mean, they could eat till, forever and not gain any significant nourishment this time of year. That's just another herd in a different place, just kind of gives you some idea. They've crumpled it down pretty good. And there again, you see the snow that's collected on his back, or her back, that's him. So that's what they call a raccoon face, the raccoon eyes here. And they get that. There's another one. Here's how they get it. Their head and the muscles that hold the head is a huge, heavy thing. And the muscles are suspended from along in here, and they facilitate swinging that head back and forth to clear the snow so they can, I guess, have something to eat. Again, they don't get much out of it, but gives them something to do, I guess. Because they don't. Now these guys. Just right after this, our guide got us in the bus. They do not let you get too close to the animals. I think it's 25 feet for everything except mountain lions, wolves, and something else is 100 bears or 100 feet. But they don't tolerate you breaking those boundaries. There's a prominent photographer that was back at the park this year for the first time in 5 years. And he does guided tours because he got too close, let his people get too close to the animals. They're serious about that. They don't put up with any foolishness. And the people that drive these are the buses like that we ride on, and the people that are driving them know the rules and enforce the rules. They just don't put up with anything. There's only 5 of us on ours. Some of them pack them. Little story here about the buses. See the markers beside the road. That lets you know where the edge of the road is. Seems pretty reasonable, because by grooming the road the way they do, you really don't know where the edge of the road is. So you depend on these stakes, and you depend on the groomer to know where the edge of the road is. Well, our driver was I don't know if he was an ordained minister or if he just went to seminary, but he was a very nice guy. And John and I, the night before, I think John had made the observation, there's no foul language. no off-color jokes. But he had jokes and, you know, carry on a conversation with him, but everything was clean. Well, that morning, you always went in before daylight. We were riding along the road. Well, all of a sudden, you felt something was wrong, and the driver let fly with an expletive. Oh my, yeah, oh my. And the bus kind of shot off the road and stopped like that far from a tree. And we didn't turn over, which a lot of places up there, if you leave the road, you're going to turn over. That's just the way it is. But where we left the road was not. And what had happened, we were in a curve, and it was a further distance than this between the stakes. And right in the curve, the guy that groomed the road had gotten off the road by maybe 18 inches. Well, our driver thought, well, there's road there. He didn't have a stake to reference immediately, so he was floating out there on maybe 18 inches of ice, and there was nothing under him. So that bus just dropped off the edge. And we were able, I guess we got delayed maybe an hour, and we got it back on the road. Coyotes, I'd never seen so many coyotes in my life. We didn't see any wolves, so I mean to tell you about that. But when you get through, you'll know what we saw. But coyotes, they were everywhere. This one's coming up to the edge. Now, how many know what that is? Yeah, you do, and John does. That's a coyote track, and I just took it because it was pretty. It's the frost is collected in the track. The track was one from the day before, and the frost had. John, what kind of frost was it? Was it hoar frost? What was it? I don't know. I can't remember. They told us the different types of frost, but anyway, I just thought that was pretty. This, I like that. Now, if you'll notice, there's snow flying all around him. I think he had just come up from an unsuccessful dive. Voles are their main, for them and foxes, is their main food. And I don't know why they don't break their necks, because they come up and they go right straight back down, feet and tail right straight in the air, and actually are stuck there for a minute, particularly if he gets what he's looking for. And quite often they do have a pretty good success rate. I just wanted to show you the other one wasn't an accident. So I didn't really catch him I don't think I got him in midair, but anyway. I'm ashamed to tell you, this is actually one that I took back in 2015, and I put it in here because it was kind of ending Yellowstone. I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is.
And Shannon don't know what it is.
I have looked at it somewhere near yours.
Yeah, we know where it is, but we can't identify it. I just thought it was pretty. I said, well, I'd rather show my ignorance and let y'all see it, because I think it's pretty myself.
I can give you directions.
Yeah. Now this is Grand Prismatic, and this is very popular. It's very similar to the one before, but I'm pretty sure this is not. That's not Grand Prismatic. And we're actually up on the side of a hill, a rock, or what was? Yeah. So, but this again was not this trip. I mean, this area was closed because it's dangerous this time of year. Dangerous enough. All right, that concludes Yellowstone, but there's a whole lot more to come. This is probably the most photographed spot in the Tetons. This is Oxbow Bend. Now, those of us that grew up in the country know what Oxbow is, but I'm not too sure. But anyway, It's the oxbow of the Snake River, and the Snake River is coming around this way. This was around September 21st. The aspen were just absolutely beautiful, as you can see. The only thing that was exceeded by the leaves on the aspen were the photographers. You get there at daylight, or get there 30 minutes before, or an hour, I guess an hour before. Yeah, at least an hour before. And there's people everywhere. I've never seen anything. I mean, this particular spot is, I have no idea how many photographers were there, or how many of them were photographers, however you want to say it. But there was a lot. And I was actually not able to get where I wanted, which is actually down on the water level, which you'll see another picture in a minute. This is Mount Moran in the background. This is Skillet Glacier. And of course, as I said, that picture was taken on, I think I double dipped there. Yeah, around September 21st. Same picture, around the 1st of June. Snow still on Mount Moran, completely covered. Same picture, probably early July. The snow is melting, but still some, you know, obviously you see Skillet Glacier. Okay, now this is also Skillet Glacier. How many of you know what moraine is? And it's not that stuff on top of lemon pie. It's this is one I took with a telephoto lens. The glaciers push up material. They grind up rocks, grind them against each other, and carry them down ahead of them. This is moraine. It's in front of this glacier. It looks like ground up powder, but that's because of the distance. It's rocks, or you know, some of them are boulders. Really, it's a matter of what you consider a rock, what you consider a boulder. But that's the material that, and some of those rocks from different types of moraine may have come from a mountain glacier like this. It's going to be the ground up mountain. But other types of glaciers may have come from 20 miles away or 100 miles away. So that's how some of our rocks get into places they get or have gotten. That's just a beautiful shot to me. Mormon Row. That's in the Tetons. There's a whole series of barns there. These people settled this area before it became a national park. Okay, this is the picture over here. And if I do say so myself, I say so, this is my favorite picture ever, I think, from a landscape, now from landscape. This is in Canadian Glacier National Park, which is just south of Jasper. And it's just a small park. This is not Waterton. And it's just the contrast in here. And if you look closely, you know, you got some of the browns on the rocks, ones that you're seeing as black, but it's actually brown and everything in it. And this is one of those, stop, Shannon, stop. She said, well, Daddy, I can't stop right here in the middle of the highway. I said, well, pick me up on your way back. So,
That happens a lot.
I was going to say, we go through that a lot. I mean, it's just, you'll see another one. I just threw this one in because of the repeating patterns in this picture. Look at the repeating patterns here and here, and even in the snow as it collects on the mountain, repeating patterns there. I didn't really know that I was getting that when I took that picture. I wish I could say I did, but I didn't. But it's just just unique. I don't have any idea what causes that. Speaking of moraine, this is Moraine Lake around Lake Louise, which is actually Lake Louise is very similar to this. But we got up one morning early and got there hoping that the water would be still and we get good reflections. Well, like so often happens, this is on the Canadian $20 bill. Yeah. I found out after I got the picture. That happens a lot. You don't get pictures of unique things in landscapes. You may get unique pictures, but it's hard to get a picture that somebody hadn't already got 1,000,000 times.
Yeah, that's on Ellen. Ellen's DeGeneres' show. And then her backdrop. I don't know if anybody watches Ellen. That's the back, her screen in the back.
Really?
I just remembered that, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Okay. Bighorn sheep. These, we hiked for miles to get this picture. It was just unbearable. I mean, I've never been so tired in my life. I had to thank Shannon for carrying my gear. No, this was right beside the highway. And it was in September. Breeding season was coming upon them. They hadn't really got to fighting yet. They were about to, but there was a group of ewes that they had their eyes on. And when we came back, they had joined them. And I suspect a lot of fighting was going to go on. Now this is a huge elk. Elk antlers normally have at most 6 points. This one has 7. You almost never see a 7 by 7. You may see a 7 by 6 occasionally, but almost all of them are 6 by 6 at the most. This is 7 by 7. He's kind of the boss. He had a harem of about 20 cows that he was looking after. And all these pictures are still in Canadian Rockies. I don't think I ever even told you where we were. Once we left the Tetons, we were in the Canadian Rockies. And it's just beautiful. Canadian Highway 1, I think, which is the Trans-Canada Highway, is the, and this was taken as on a spur off Canada 1. But that is snow on his antlers. He had bedded down right there. And apparently this dude's pretty old, judging by his beard. There was another younger one with him that his beard was hardly discernible. And his antlers were maybe 2/3 that size, but this one was the boss. Okay, then we're going to completely change subject. This is Grand Canyon. Betty, Shannon, and myself went out west. It was 2015? No. 2010. And the visibility was so poor, and there was no forest fires, but the visibility was so poor, I just put my camera down. So I'm not, there's no point in this.
And the people.
Yes, people everywhere. And so Betty and I talked and we decided, well, we'll go in December. Maybe it'll be a little bit, but we kind of did some research on the weather and everything. Of course, Shannon had a fit. You're going by yourself? And she just, we can't go by ourselves. But anyway, we did, and I almost killed her, but that's another story. This is a sunset over the canyon. Now, the sun is setting back on this side. And all these pictures that you're going to see of the Grand Canyon are really just a play on light. Just they're taking different light situations. But the lodge is right here. This is obviously the south side. And Betty walked around and she said, come here, you need to get a picture of this sunset. That's what I'm doing. I was just enthralled by what this was doing, what it looked like. So she said, no, you need to come around here. And I was like, okay. So I walked around there. And it really looked like the woods were on fire, as we say down here. I mean, out there in the west, it seems to be you have a lot of black sunsets. But I've never seen one quite like this. These pictures, like I said, are just plays on light. All in generally the same area. And you can see the shadows changing and that sort of thing, but it's amazing what this is a repeat. Same. I think this one was taken pretty close to the middle of the day because there's virtually no shadows in it. The middle of the day normally is a terrible time to take pictures. Normally from 10 to 2, you about have to quit. But during the winter, the sun level is low enough you can get away with it some. And you can see some snow in here too. This is a famous photographer from North Carolina. This is one of 2 pictures I didn't take. Betty took that. And of course, the one of me in the snow, I didn't take that. The rest of them I did. This is Bryce Canyon. And I think it's his inspiration point or artist point. I'm not sure which. That's just a hole in the wall. And it snowed every night. Didn't snow any during the day, but you come out in the morning, there was snow. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I think this is pretty good. Now, this is, I can't remember if it's a sunrise or sunset. I think it was a sunrise. And again, I was up high. But you see, in December, you can see forever. That's just another, let me go back a minute. I know most of you know, but these spires, are hoodoos. I don't know what makes them hoodoos. I don't know where that word comes from, but that's what they call them. Mostly the spires are hoodoos. That looks like a village to me.
It does.
Again, different light. Let me go back just a minute. Look in the background here, how good you can see. I think I've got one photo in here from the summer, and there's a marked difference. But this, people ask me, well, I'm going to the Grand Canyon, I'm going to Bryce Canyon, I'm going to Zion, I'm going to Petrified Forest, and all these places, what's your order? I said, we go to Bryce Canyon last. That's the last place you go, because if you go to Bryce Canyon, you're going to be looking for those colors in the other places, and you're not going to find them. They're not there. Bryce Canyon, to me, is the most colorful. Now, it's not a lot. I mean, it's not like you're going to spend 3 or 4 days there. It's a fairly small canyon. Now, if you're going to hike down in it, which you can do, it'll take more time. But if you just want to see the view and whatever, you can do it, and really you can do it in one day, but to get good lighting and get a sunrise, a sunset, 2 days is quite sufficient. But Shannon mentioned one thing I forgot, people in the park. There are not any in December. None. Betty was, back then, she couldn't get around real good, so she didn't go out with me that much. And she sat in the car, and one of the early mornings, a ranger came up and parked where he could watch her, and just sat there until I got back. You know, it was just, obviously he had, I mean, not demeaning what he did, but he had nothing to do but look after her, which was fine. I appreciated him doing it. Let me go back here just a minute. Now, this was actually a summer shot here. You can see the haze in the background here. Now, I think this one has probably also been dehazed, which is a process I can go through software. But you go back and remember what it looked like in December, and you could clearly see what's in the distance. But this time of year, it was just disgusting. Hubbard Glacier. We're now in Alaska. It's the Hubbard Glacier. Right here, you see disturbance in the water. I want you to watch this column right here. The column's now right here. It snapped off and went pretty much straight down. Now you can see some debris and all falling right here, but it went straight down. I don't know how many of you have seen this type glacier or not, but you can't, you know, you talk about walking on a glacier or whatever. You're not going to walk on this. You just can't do it. It's just, there's no telling how old that glacier is. Well, the ice that's coming off of it could be, you know, 100,000 years old, I guess. All right, I put this in. I want to show you something. This is a glacier, and this glacier has receded all the way past where I am now. And this is the fine moraine that it has left. See that black line in it? Now, what that means is somewhere over the horizon, there was two glaciers. And they come together and kind of push up the debris from the sides as they come together and push it up. And you see a lot of them that have that black line down the middle. But that's the joining point for the two glaciers. And it may be 2 miles back or 20 miles back. Now this is actually Mount McKinley on a clear day. We were in Denali National Park, and we got to see it on a clear day. You're not going to see this often. It doesn't look like Mount McKinley to me, but that's what they said it was. And it's not the shot that you normally get. You know, it doesn't look very dangerous, but that's what it is. Same deal. Now I don't know. I do not remember what the altitude is of McKinley, but a lot of that altitude is already taken up when you get there. I mean, it's not like you climb that far. I mean, by the time it starts here, you may be 5,000 to 6,000 feet. So it's not like you have to climb the whole thing. And of course, it's that way with all mountains. You remember that moose I showed you a while ago? Now this is a moose, a real moose. That's an Alaskan moose, and this was at Denali, and he's got 2 or 3 cows with him. But if you're a hunter or a photographer, this is what you're after. If you're not, if you're just out walking around, you're not after that. Okay, story here. We flew in to Clark National Park, Lake Clark National Park. And he warned us ahead. He said there's a sow out there that has learned that her cubs are safe around photographers. And she will bring them up and leave them around the photographers and go fishing. Yeah, okay. I don't know if that was before we bought tickets or not, but yeah, it sounded good. Now, in case you don't know it, the few that may not, a boar will kill the cubs. And one of her jobs is to keep them away from the boars until they're big enough to wean, really. And so she doesn't want the boars to have access to the cubs. Well, lo and behold, we landed, got out of the plane and walked over to in the area of the water, and off in the distance, just could see her. Here comes something. And then you could see it's three somethings. One's a whole lot bigger than the other. She comes right up, probably from here to the highway, to the street, the Ash Street out there. Kind of like, okay guys, I'm going fishing. Y'all stay here with these fellas. She went fishing. Left them there playing. Well, I don't know if somebody was playing music in the background or not, but this dude was dancing. And you don't know the half from what I've got here. I mean, he was dancing. Am I making that up? He was doing the hand jive now, I'm gonna tell you. And he was just remind me of myself when I was 16 years old. But anyway. Yeah.
They got rather close to us, too.
They did. They really got kind of.
I mean, they were within the 25, 50 feet, but.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. And Mama was probably, what would you, I don't know, 500 pounds or more. I don't know. She was big. And so here she is. You see, she's wet. She's been fishing. Like, come on, guys.
And that area is just covered. There's probably 50 bears.
Yeah, yeah. And during the fishing season, this is actually after, this was early September, and the salmon are not, there's very few salmon left. But this is one of the hot spots. As a matter of fact, I thought I was going back here to this general area this August, but long story, but anyway, the deal fell through. But there are just hundreds of bears in there in August. I love this vehicle. We were staying at a cabin, and I got out that morning and just walking around, and lo and behold, here's this old International pickup sitting around the corner. License number 506. Just thought it was cute. Okay. The next two photos illustrate that you don't get pictures of unique things. This is Bactoma Falls on the Oregon side of the Columbia River Gorge. Saw that thing and I'm like, man, I can't wait. You know, I'm going to use this shutter speed or use that shutter speed. This aperture, that aperture. I'm going to do an HDR. Man, Lord, there's only one person on the bridge. Man, this is great. So I got home and I'd done HDR, and I put them together and it's like, oh, this is great. Got me something here. Sit back, may have mixed a drink or something, I don't know. But anyway, sit back. Chrysler commercial came on TV. Guess what was on the Chrysler commercial? I mean, it wasn't my photograph, but it could have been. I mean, it was just like this. It was sickening. Now this is one of those, hold on, hold on here a minute. And I think it was also one of those pick me up on your way back. Yeah. And so I got this. This is El Capitan, Half Dome, Clouds Rest, and I think, I don't know if that's bridal veil or horsetail. And this is the valley floor, and this is what got John Muir convinced that Yosemite was formed by glaciers and not an earthquake. The theory at the time was a giant earthquake, and the floor had fallen out and all that. Well, Muir spent so much time up there, he figured that he kind of developed the theory that it was glaciers, and that's what it turned out to be. Well, I got home with this picture. Can't remember where I saw it now. Anyway, Ansel Adams took this picture. Not this picture, but I mean, he made this view. This is known as the tunnel view. He even have a name for it. And it's just a collection of unique features of Yosemite in one picture. So again, nothing unique. I included this just simply because it was novel. I don't know what he's going to prove, or when he grows up, gets to be a big boy, he's going to whoop somebody. But he's just, yeah, I mean, it's really something. I'm going to run over just a little bit on a couple of things. I'm technically through. Okay, but I haven't included any birds, so I'm going to run over and get a few birds. Birds are my thing, really. Hummingbirds particularly. So I'm going to just run over for just a minute on some. Now this is one of those pictures that people say, well, my Lord, how in the world do you have patience to sit there and wait for that bird? I wasn't waiting for that bird, I was waiting for wood ducks. And the beavers had remodeled this cypress stump, gave it some of its features. So I got a picture of a cardinal. I wasn't waiting for a cardinal, but to me it's a good picture. Now this is one of those that you take and you get home, and it's like, really, I can't believe that. Obviously, I didn't see that bug when I took this picture. And actually, I took this at Walnut Creek. I think off 17, between 17 and, I don't know, anyway. But I just couldn't believe that I got that one. Those are snow geese at Pungo. Squirrel, you basic gray squirrel. I caught him taking a nap. Herman Park. I can show you the hole in it's a hole in the end of a limb. He just woke up and said, hey, I like turkeys. Okay, that's all. I gotta, if you want to stay here the rest of the night, oh no, I won't show you. I want to show you some hummingbirds that I got. And
yeah, that he does. Don't let him fool you. He does it in 4 hours.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I spend a lot of time waiting for hummingbirds to come in. I used to kind of fake them out. I'd put a bloom on a feeder, and lure them in and all that. And now I've developed a way to do it using powerful flash. And Langer, remember me and the hummingbird, what was that, 30 years ago? At the house, I was trying to get a hummingbird in with the flash back in the old days. Indigo bunting. That's a yellow-billed cuckoo. Okay, that's all.
Was that, you called me one day and you said, you're never going to guess what I got.
Yeah.
A yellow-billed cuckoo.
Yeah.
And I said, you're never going to guess where I am. I'm staying on top of a volcano in Yellowstone.
Oh, yeah.
Like, okay,
yeah.
One thing you did forget about was the snow in Yellowstone.
Do what now?
The snow in Yellowstone.
What about it?
About how it snows.
Oh, 130 inches. Average is 130 inches a year. And it's got its own, it is its own weather system.
Yeah.
You can't really go by what's going on around it or whatever. Inside that volcano, it develops its own system. And the thing about it is, you know, in Yellowstone, you're standing inside the end of civilization. When it blows, if it's a big blow, it's going to end our civilization as we know it. And that's pretty moving to me. Now, it may blow tomorrow, or it may blow in another 100,000 years. I don't know. Nobody knows. But you can see the caldera in numerous places. You see the caldera around you. So, you know, it's pretty impressive. All right. They cut the lights on me. Time to hush. Yes, Brett, I'm a hush.